I think it's 42 of the Making Stories podcast. I'm Annalisa, your host for today and always, and I'm so glad that you're joining me here today. As you might hear from my voice, I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather. So yeah, let me just super quickly pop on a sweater, maybe? Because also this is a knitting podcast, so why am I not wearing a sweater? Who knows? I don't. What? Okay. Promptly remedied. Let's pull on this beauty here. Which also gives me the chance to actually talk about this, because this is a sweater that I quite like. It's to be honest, it's not my favorite, but it's been really nice over the last few months because it has this nice sort of layering thing to it. Like you can just throw it on. And it's not too warm for me. It's not too cold. It's getting a little bit too cold now to wear outside because it's really gotten quite cold here in Berlin. This is like the weirdest podcast intro ever. I'm really sorry. Let's start this over again. So, I'm Annalisa. I'm the host of the Making Stories podcast. If you are familiar with Making Stories, we are an online yarn shop focusing on sustainably produced yarns, and we also have a publishing side to the company where we produce a magazine twice a year. And this podcast is where I share what has been on my needles and what's going in the shop about every other week. If you are a returning viewer, you'll notice that I skipped last week. That's because we're in the middle of sixth season right now. So I'm also a mom. I have a toddler. Oren just turned 3 in September. And as many other parents are experiencing at the moment, the sick days are numerous. So thankfully nothing really bad, but colds, coughs, runny noses have been an ongoing guest in this household since September. And so last week, Oren was home from daycare for almost the entire week, and I was also feeling a little bit under the weather. As I said, you can still hear it a little bit in my voice. I feel fine again, but it is what it is. I am really thankful for actually being my own boss, and for my husband being his own boss now as well during this time, because it allows us to be a bit more flexible. But fear not, this is not a childcare podcast. This is actually a knitting and yarn podcast. I wanted to quickly check, yeah, we are actually recording, because by the rate that this intro is going, I might have just forgotten to press record. Okay, so I have my little cheat sheet here in front of me. But we're actually just going to start by talking about this sweater that I pulled out. Then I'm going to quickly share what I've been working on and also share my knitting plans. I also forgot to get one of the yarns that I wanted to show you. I am just so well prepared right now, right? All right, I'm gonna quickly go and grab that skein of yarn. Here it is. Yay! Oh my God, I'm so sorry, people. That is what happens when, so Oren's, the day that I'm recording, is Oren's first day back at daycare, and he woke up quite late. And so the entire morning was a little bit rushed. And then I also just got the notification from David, my husband, that because there are so many caretakers sick at the daycare, that we have to pick up Oren early today. So I have about 3-ish, maybe 4 hours of work time today. And I just need to significantly slow down. Okay, thank you for bearing with me there. I think slowing down is something that is actually really useful for every one of us, especially also for me to remember during this season. I don't know about you, for me it's quite hectic and intense those weeks leading up to the end of the year. I'm trying to make the best out of it, and I'm actually really enjoying them this year. I think it has a lot to do with the flexibility of sort of both of us being able to fit work and family more flexibly together. Okay, but quick mention of this sweater. This is Stephanie Earp's Petiole sweater from our issue 3 that I knit years ago in the original yarn for the design, which is the fabulous Nua Sport by Stolen Stitches. And I really, really like it. The fit, as you can see, like there's quite a bit of fabric here in the upper arm and quite a bit of fabric here. So I really like the fit in the body. I don't particularly like the fit up here in the shoulders. But that's generally a thing with me and circular yoke sweaters that I don't really know. I think there's just something about the way that, you know, a lot of them are graded and that my body is, that I don't like them a lot, like very much on me. There are exceptions, but yeah, I still wear this because I made it and I love it and the yarn is great and the pattern is great. So yeah, what have I been knitting on? So I have been knitting on one thing that I'm not going to show you this week, but if everything goes according to plan, there will be an additional podcast episode next week so that we're back to our regular schedule. I will show you that thing then, because I don't want to spoil the surprise. It has to do with the winter celebration that we're running at the moment. Hello to everyone who's participating. So glad that you're with us. But I have been knitting exclusively on one thing since I finished that other thing that I'm going to be showing you next week. And that is my lure shawl. Oops, I need to manage the yarns. So this is my lure shawl. You can see that it's grown. I'm sorry. You can see that it's grown quite a bit since I last showed it on the podcast. This is a pattern by Audrey Borrego from our issue 8, so our current issue that we published in September. And it's a beautiful asymmetrical triangular shawl. You cast on a few stitches here and then you increase on one side every other row. And this gets you this really nice asymmetrical triangular shape that is going to be really, really wearable once it's done. And you can also see that it has 4 different texture panels. So this one, which is twisted stitches and sort of like a garter checkerboard thing, then mosaic knitting, bobbles, and a lovely slipped stitch pattern. And then you repeat that in slightly different lengths for the green one and then the one that I'm working on at the moment. And it's going to be finished with a garter border. So I am at the last pattern section, and for the last pattern section you do 2 charts repeat of this pattern, and I am almost at the end of the first chart repeat. I'm really hoping that I can get this done this weekend because it's going to get really cold again, and I don't have a shawl and I don't have a scarf, and it's getting quite chilly around the neck. I'm still wearing my cotton scarves from the summer, so yeah, I really want to have this baby done. Also, it's like I'm getting impatient, not because I don't enjoy it. This has been such an enjoyable knit because every single stitch pattern is great, and you just want to get to either the next row or the next stitch pattern, and it's just truly like, it's interesting, but you can also watch TV while knitting it or watch a toddler. So yeah, that's something that I really appreciate. And I really enjoy working with these yarns. This is our newest addition to the Making Stories shop, Hudson and West Coast Weld. Hudson and West is a fabulous US-based women-owned company that produces yarns entirely in the US. So everything is sourced, spun, dyed in the US. It's a 70% merino, 30% Corriedale blend. and we carry 2 weights. So the fingering weight, which is this one, called Weld, and a worsted weight that I'm going to show you in a second, that's called Forage. And I'm knitting this in the colorway Gold Leaf, that's the main color, and the contrasting color is Aspen. I'm really curious how much I end up using. I am on the am I on the second? I think I'm on the second skein of the white and on the third skein of the green. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to weigh it when I'm done. But I also want to know, because then I can tell you in the next podcast episode how many skeins of this fabulous yarn you need if you also want to make this shawl in it. So yeah, that is what is currently on my needles. Now, I am obviously dreaming of cast-ons. And I did an Instagram poll the other day because I was really curious whether people are still knitting gifts for Christmas or whether you're already, like me, in team comfort knitting. And comfort knitting is something that I'm going to be talking about quite a bit in the next few weeks. It's a new term. I mean, I obviously didn't invent it, but I was looking for something that to me represents the knitting projects that we purely do for ourselves, just because we really, really, really find them joyful. Obviously, that means you can knit for someone else, but it's just a project that is comforting and cozy and doesn't come attached with any expectations or any deadlines or any timelines. I used to call this selfish knitting, but I don't find this particularly selfish. I think there's a lot that is not selfish in caring to ourselves and for ourselves and to our joy. And so comfort knitting it is. And it is I'm very much in the camp of comfort knitting. I might cast on a little hat or two for gift knitting, but only if I have the headspace for it. And so what I want to talk about next is actually my comfort knitting plans. And I have 3 projects that are waiting to jump on my needles. The first one, you know, if you've been following this for a while, that I absolutely love knitting socks. And I don't have a pair of socks on my needles. I technically have, I have 2 pairs that that are waiting for their second sock. I think the second pair actually has a half-finished second sock, but I haven't worked on that in a little while, or in a long while, to be honest. But I really enjoy knitting just a plain stockinette sock, preferably on mini circulars, because that is the most mindless knitting to me that you can have, and I can always fit that in whenever. And I really need projects like these right now because this season is so intense, and basically the only thing that brings me back to myself, that centers me, that grounds me a little bit, is my knitting. And I can physically feel it when I don't knit. I am more stressed, I'm more anxious, I have less patience. So every single stitch, every single round, every single row does something good for my mental health. And when I had my last sock project on the needles, on mini circulars, I realized that if I have something like that on the needles, I grab this so much more often. And if I don't have that on my needles, what do I grab? This. And this makes me more anxious. So one of the comfort knitting projects that I also want to have around the holidays, because we'll see family, we'll visit my family, and I just want to have it around, is a pair of plain stockinette socks. And I grabbed one of the last sock sets of Woolen Vines Cardigan sock that we had in the shop before. This colorway is now sold out, but we still have some in the lilac colorway left. So this is 120 grams in the colorway Grapevine. And I actually made a pair of socks out of one of her other colorways that we had. That's called Blossom last year. And the fun thing about these is that they're almost self-striping, like almost mini self-striping socks. So I'm gonna make these and they're gonna be great. Speaking of self-striping, I actually have a little inquiry that I wanted to ask. So I really enjoy these socks, but I've been seeing a lot of self-striping sock yarns that have these bigger blocks, the bigger stripes, and I really, really, really want to make a pair of these, but I want a yarn that's non-superwash and doesn't have nylon in it. And I haven't been able to find any self-striping sock yarn that is non-superwash and doesn't have nylon in it. If you know of any dyers or yarn companies that do that, can you leave a comment down below? Because I'd really, really love to knit some of those. Like, they just look super fun. So yeah, I would love to hear about that. The other two projects that I'm going to be casting on are for me. Well, the socks are also for me. I'm probably going to be making a pair for Orin with the leftovers. But I really want to cast on the Washington cardigan by illitilli that we also now have on the website. It's a beautiful like cocoon cardigan that's designed for Hudson and West Forge, and I've had the sweater quantity in Dusk lying around ever since we started carrying this, and I really also just want to have that in my wardrobe. I realized that I'm wearing a wool sweater every single day. I have about like maybe 6 or 7 that I have in rotation right now. It's not enough. And what I'm really lacking is those comfy wool sweaters that are not too warm that I can throw on over a pair of leggings and a long sleeve t-shirt in the evening. And the Washington cardigan is going to be exactly that. Now, the other thing that I'm going to be casting on is something that I'm really excited about, because it also really falls into the comfort knitting but also comfort wearing rail, and I am at the same time knitting a sample for us, because in January we'll launch our first ever Unspun yarn to the shop. I know that we're quite late to the game. People have been knitting with Nutiden and Lopi and Manchelopis and things for like quite some time now. But it's taken me a little while to actually get a hold of something. And I'm so glad that we will be launching this in the new year. The yarn is already here, but I want to spend some time creating a little bit of content around it, especially, you know, around what is different when you knit with unspun yarn than with spun yarn. So I'm just really curious whether you've knit with unspun yarn before, whether you like it, what you found good about it, what you didn't find good about it. And if you haven't knit with unspun yarn before, what are you wondering about? Like, what can we do to sort of help knit with unspun yarn? Just put your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm really curious to hear about them. So the yarn that we're launching is Manchelopis. And these are just 2 of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colorways, I think, that we'll have. It's a light gray and a brownish gray. And they're gorgeous. They're absolutely stunning. Manchelopis is a yarn that's produced by Wool Dreamers, and it is 100% Manchega wool. Manchega are the sheep that also produce the milk that then gets produced into Manchego cheese. And it's a beautiful, really lightweight, very soft yarn. And it comes, I have the little tag here. What I think is really clever is it comes already pre-wound into into double strands. You can obviously also knit with a single strand, but a lot of patterns actually call for double strands. So the plaits that you get are double stranded. And if you hold them double, you have 230 meters on 100 gram. If you hold it single, 460 meters on 100 gram. It's obviously non-superwash, no plastic, 100% beautiful Spanish wool from a lovely company. And yeah, exact launch date is TBD at some point in January. Yeah, if you want a pre-order for this, let me know in the comments down below. Pre-orders are a bit easier for me to manage right now, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I really want to make something with this. I am thinking, originally I was thinking this, but now I think maybe this. I think maybe this colorway goes nicely with jeans, but I think it also goes nicely with black. And I want to make the gentle Lopi Tunic, which is Melody Hoffmann's latest pattern. It's a long, oversized sweater with quite a bit of ease in the arms, and it looks super fun. I have to swatch a little bit. I realized that my beloved Chow Gu needle set only goes up to a size 5, so I'm going to swatch with this needle size 5 first to see whether that gets me the required gauge, and if it doesn't, then I need to acquire a new needle. All right. So, let me look at my cheat sheet. That is it that I have in terms of actual knitting and knitting plans. Now we're moving into the shop section / business section of the podcast. So what I'm going to be talking about first is I'm going to be sharing the first 5 days of the winter celebration box. And then I want to talk a little bit about my celery. And then I also want to just share, what we have in the shop right now and what you can expect from us throughout the rest of the year. As we're going to be starting with the winter celebration box, if you have the winter celebration box and you have not yet opened days 1 through 5, close your eyes now. If you've ordered the winter celebration box and for some reason it hasn't arrived yet and you also don't want any spoilers, also close your eyes now. I'll let you know when it's safe to open them again. Actually, you might also... how do we do this? You might also just want to mute it because I'm actually going to be talking about what I'm going to be showing. Alrighty, what we'll do is I'll put a timestamp into the down bar below so that you can actually skip ahead beyond the winter celebration box. How about that? Okay? Alrighty, so every year we do a winter celebration from December 1st through December 10th. It's a virtual event where we open a virtual door to a surprise, a recipe, a playlist, a discount code every day. And this year, for the first time ever, we paired it with a physical box, our winter celebration box. So I curated 10 gifts that you could then open alongside the virtual door every day. And they're somewhat related. So I first wanted to show you just really quickly the packaging. So we'll definitely do it again. I loved it. I think you also loved it. If you got a winter celebration box, do let me know what you thought. We have a couple of reviews that are great, and some people have been posting alongside me on Instagram when they're opening it, and I also know that they've enjoyed it. So I'd love to hear what you thought if you got a winter celebration box. So this is this year's packaging, and because it was the first time, with first times, there's always a little bit of, okay, will this work, And what I actually really loved was, having consistently like this craft paper packaging, and then there were these little stickers that I designed. But next year, when we do it again, I want to work on the entire box experience a little bit more so that you can actually use the box as your you know, as the winter celebration box. Like you can see for me, I've not used the box, but I've put everything into a basket. Yeah, just because I thought it looked a little bit nicer than in the cardboard box. But other than that, I'm quite happy with the packaging, and it's, as always with all our packaging, it's all recycled paper. Also, the white is recycled paper, and it's 100% plastic free, so you can just either reuse it or you can recycle it. So, the first day, we started off with light, with 100% beeswax candle by the Kaspar Hauser Stiftung, which is a non-profit organization here in Berlin that is working with people who have a hard time getting employment or people who are handicapped, and they hand I don't even know how you call that in English. In German, you would say hand draw these candles. So they're not poured. They're like, you know, you add layer after layer of beeswax on this. So it's 100% beeswax. Hello. And it smells divine. And now that I've shown you, I can actually start burning this. The second day is one of my all-time favorite wool washes, Hey Mama Wolf's Solid Wool Wash Bar, in a scent that's new to us, cedarwood and lanolin. So you got this cute little wool soap, and I adore this scent. It smells, to me, this smells like a winter walk in the forest. It's woodsy and outdoorsy, and it's gonna make your woolens smell absolutely fabulous. So that was day 2. Day 3 was this lovely postcard print by Nadine from Herzflimmern. She's a German artist who lives in the south of Germany and makes these beautiful whimsical drawings. And I chose this because it just reminds me of this idea of creating a little ritual for yourself with the winter celebration. I also really like her work because it is diverse and representative. So if you're looking for, like, for example, love cards that feature like same-sex couples, things like that, lots of people of different body shapes, body sizes, skin colors, she has all of that, and I really enjoy that. Like, I like supporting artists who are diverse and political in their work. So yeah. Day 4 has our little notions pouch with our hydrangea print. So as you know, hydrangeas were one of the main inspiration for the winter celebration this year. And so I put a little hydrangea print on this really cute little notions pouch. It has a golden zipper, and if you open it, you know, it's the perfect size to keep any and all notions in. Also, now that I've shown you mine, I can actually start using it. The pouch itself is by the Westford Mill. It's 100% organically grown cotton. Westford Mill is a company that produces quite beautiful, really sturdy canvas. So this is, like, it's just really nice. It's not flimsy. You can see that it stands up, right? Like, and it has been printed with vegan and cruelty-free ink by a German screen printer called Fairtrade Merch. They were absolutely lovely and delightful to work with, so I'm really glad that we decided to go with them. Last, but certainly not least, day 5 Cookie time! So, this is a lovely 3D printed cookie cutter in a sweater shape by Dior Clara from Studio C Yarn, who is based in Brandenburg Havel, just outside of Berlin. And she made them in this custom burgundy colorway, which I actually adore. So those were the first 5 days. I hope if you have the winter celebration box that you enjoyed them. If you don't have it and you would like one because you liked what you saw, we still have a few in the shop. I will take them down at some point towards the end of the year. I'll give you a heads up before. It will most likely be around December 22nd or so that I will take them offline. Anything that we have left sorry, will go into mystery boxes for next year, but they're delightful, so go get one if you want one. Okay, what did I actually want to talk about next? All right, update on my salary. So in the summer, and I also shared this on the podcast, I talked about the summer was really hard, first of all, for making stories. And I know that we're not alone in that, not in the fiber world, not in the small business world. And I know that the summer was also hard for a lot of you. This year has been hard. For us, towards the end of the summer, end of July, beginning of August, I was facing a situation where I didn't know whether we would be around for much longer. We had gotten a really high printing bill. At the same time, sales were down significantly in July, and we had just burned through our entire buffer by essentially paying that printing bill for issue 8. At the same time, I hadn't been paying myself a salary since I came back from maternity leave with Ori. So for more than 2 years, almost 3. And that was problematic. That was problematic because of a few different reasons. One is I was perpetuating a thing that I see happening in this industry, where people who are in the privileged position that they actually don't need to make money because there's a spouse or something that provides for them, which was the case for us. Like, full disclosure, David was paying for everything. So they don't actually need to make money, but they're still running a business, but they're not factoring in a salary for them. And that's problematic because it artificially drives down the price for everything that they're selling. And that in turn then has a negative impact on pricing for the entire industry. And I was part of that problem. I was 100% part of that problem. That was exactly the situation that I was in. And the more that I thought about it, the clearer it became to me that this is not what I want to do. And this is also not the business that I want to stand for. Like, I want to actually show that you can run a business that is sustainable, not only in the sense of sourcing sustainable products and providing a sustainable workplace, but also sustainable for its owner, because its owner is actually able to pay herself. So that was one part of the problem. The other part of the problem was the practical one, that this privileged situation, and that had been sort of in the works for a little while, was coming to an end because David also started his own company. So I also needed to make money. And it got me thinking, I also honestly just deserve to make money because I run this business, and I think we're a good business. Like, we bring joy to people and we provide value to your lives, and the work that I put in here deserves to be compensated for. I just didn't see how. So I shared all of that publicly, and it also triggered quite a lot of really significant changes here at Making Stories. We launched the Making Stories Collective, which is our own version of Patreon. Thank you to everyone who's part of that. If you're not yet part of it, check it out. Link is in the down bar below. I became really, really mindful about actually focusing our our marketing campaigns, what we would sell, what we would talk about on the products that we had in stock so that we could generate money out of them. I was also following sort of hunches that I thought were really good ideas, like the sock boxes, which you thankfully love, and the winter celebration boxes, which you also loved. I also worked a lot on bringing, reining in the cost for the next magazine issue. So we switched printers, we switched papers, we're going to print significantly less to manage cash flow better. And all of those measures, plus all of you, because you've been absolutely wonderful and your orders have taken us through this entire last half year, and it's been magnificent. Thank you so much. Have brought us to a situation where we have my goal for the end of the year was to have 3 months of cash flow, so the money that we'll be spending every month, in the bank, including a salary for me. And we have that now. And that means that I wrote and signed and sent an employment contract to our accountant for me with a salary. And I'm so happy about that. I'm not, we're not out of the water yet. The fall and the winter season is always really good season. So it's really good that, we were able to move through this season and build up that buffer again, and calculate in a salary for me again. I'm really hoping that we'll be able to continue doing that throughout the entire year. And but I also realized that, we need to celebrate those wins when we have them. And that was such a big win. And I'm just really happy and really relieved, because I love this work and I want to continue doing that. But I can only continue doing that when I actually make money with it. So yeah, if you like our work and you don't necessarily want to support us through just purchasing yarn, that's obviously a great way to support us. But you can also support us through joining the Making Stories Collective, as I already said. So the details are in the down bar below. It's still a little bit weird talking about things like these. I know that, transparency is one of our huge values, and there are other industries and other companies that are super, super transparent also with their numbers. I haven't seen anyone do that in our industry, but I'm quite inclined to maybe even make this more transparent. My business coach actually suggested, and our accountant also suggested, that we could make our year-end results public. Let me know if you'd like that. I think it would be nice. I think it would be a good step in that transparency journey. Alrighty, so I'm just looking at how long I've been talking. Almost 40 minutes. That's a nice podcast episode length. I want to wrap this up by just sharing a little bit how the rest of the year is going to look like. So we are very, very quickly moving through December. We will be closing the Making Stories virtual office. We're all remote from December 23rd through January 1st. So we'll be back on January 2nd. The shop will remain open, so you can place orders, but all orders placed between December 23rd and January 1st, they will ship out in the week of January 2nd, which is when I'll be back at work. Until then, we'll talk a lot about comfort knitting. We still have some really beautiful yarns in stock. There are a few sweater quantities left, especially of the Rerum Natura yarns. We just did a little small restock of Garthenor organic beacons. There are some sock yarns, and lovely little gifts and notions. For European customers, you still have a chance to order something and get it in time for Christmas. If you're celebrating Christmas, please then order by this Sunday. For German customers, I would recommend ordering by December 17th, 18th, because I'm shipping out orders every day as they come in. But we've already seen significant delays. Even here within Germany, parcels are taking longer than usual, and I just want to make sure if you order something and you expect it to arrive by Christmas, then you know you actually get it by Christmas. Last but not least, if you don't know what to wish for, we do sell gift cards, so that might also be a thing that you might want to put on your little wishing list. Alrighty, that was everything from me today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, forward it to a friend or 3 or 2, and we'll see each other hopefully again next week.